Top 10 PvP Ratholes for Ark Survival Ascended Center. This first Rathole is pretty cool. This can fit up to a mega tribe. At first it looks quite small. In this section you can build a multi-story base to fit maybe 2 to 3 players and a few turret walls. But if you go to the top back of the cave, there is an opening, and when you go through that, it opens into a huge open space. I do think they intended this to be a cave and just forgot to finish it. I do feel like it will be patched in the future, but for now it is a huge space that can fit up to 2 mega tribes even in the same space, and there's endless possibilities with what you could build and how you could build defenses. This next spot can be found at latitude 96.7 or longitude 23.2. This spot is kind of high and at world's edge. You have the world edge barrier above you and to your side, so you only kind of have to focus in one area when it comes to defending. This spot is big enough to 2 to 4 players, as it has quite a decent amount of building space, but it does lack room for breeding and things like that when you're trying to go to get bigger dinos. But there is space for you to do things like put up turret walls, and if you want to, you can put in spike walls to defend the edge for those Quetzals. Spot number 3 is very tricky, but if you claim it, it's going to be very beneficial. This Rathole is made up of a sequence of tunnels, and these tunnels all kind of confuse people trying to raid you, but there are several rooms where you can have a decent sized base and other bases that you can use to flank people while they're raiding you. The central hub of these tunnels is quite big and can fit up to a 4-man tribe in here, and if you build it properly, it's going to take people a long time to raid you, and because these tunnels are so narrow, there's a very limited amount of dinos they can bring in here to try to soak your turrets. So if you have your turrets layered up, this might be a very high and secure spot for you to build in, and if you build it right, people won't even know you're in here unless they're actively looking to raid people. Number 4 can be found at latitude 96.8, longitude 21.1. This is a smaller location. It's suitable for a solo player or a duo trying to store things, so overnight they can just pop up with a huge base. It's at world's edge again, so this gives you a little bit of security. It's not too close to world's edge where people can use it to mesh into your base, but it gives you enough coverage where you only have to focus about the main area of entrance. It's going to be very hard to find you and very hard to raid you early game. This spot can be found at latitude 83.6, longitude 16.1. This is a very weird spot, but I can see some of you guys building a very cool defendable base in here. This is up inside, kind of like a floating cliff, and inside it there's a bunch of platforms, and for now you're gonna have to build a very small base to kind of fit in here. But when we get things like cliff platforms and things, you'll be able to build a very high up base that's going to be protected with chandelier turret towers and even a horizontal turret wall with pillars. This spot can fit up to 4 people. Let me know if you guys think this is actually a good spot. I wasn't sure if I should have left it in or changed it out with a different one that I found. This next spot can be found at latitude 6.9, longitude 28 behind this waterfall. This spot is more suited to a bigger tribe with maybe 4 to 6 players or more. It has a lot of room, which means you have a lot of room to advance and grow as your tribe gets bigger or as you get more dinos. It is going to be a harder one to protect, but you do have the waterfall kind of blocking the view from in front for the most part, and you're protected at one side by the world's edge, and above there's a cliff blocking you as well. So there's no one going to be dropping dinos right into your base from above. And at the bottom right hand side, as you can see, there's even a little room where you can build a flanking station. So if you're getting raided, you can spawn back in here and flank people with all the gear you have stored. Again, I do think this spot would be more beneficial for a bigger tribe, but if you're a solo player and you want to try do it on your own, go for it, and I wish you the best. This next spot can be found at latitude 88.1, longitude 72.1. This is a nice 2-man spot, and it's very narrow. The entrance is super hard to get into with any dinos, so protecting this might be a little bit easier than most. At the back of this Rathole, it's very easy to build a 3x2 or anything of the sort to store your dinos in and have a little bit of room to progress and have smaller dinos for PvP or just store equipment and things. You can even have a turret wall, which will help deter raiders and make your base just that little bit more protected. Spot number 8 is my favorite by far. This can be found at latitude 75.5, longitude 87.2. This spot is probably one of the most secure ones on this list. When you go into it, you can see all this area where you can build turret towers, turret walls, and when you go up into the back of this space, you will see a little tiny entrance. This is big enough to fly some smaller dinos into, but inside it, it opens up into a large cavern, and you literally have space to fit even up to a Rex Or I low-key think you could fit a Giga in here and have it just biting at anyone who tries to raid this base. You can have turrets here to take out anyone who gets close, and it's just going to be a very, very long raid. And if you build it properly, you can fit up to 8 players in this cave, living in a multi-story base with different compartments for crafting and storing gear. So if you can, try to get to this spot first, because it is a very, very OP spot, and I think everyone is going to really try to fight for this spot. This next spot can be found at latitude 91.5, longitude 59.8. This is one of the other spots where I do believe it could be patched in the future, and probably will be. There's a very, very tiny entrance, and when you go into this, at first I thought it was a cave, but again it opens up into another unfinished chamber where it's just a very, very wide open space, and basically you can build in any of these spaces. I'm not sure about official, but I'm pretty sure on any unofficial servers this will be a very, very good spot to build in, and it is huge, humongous, and it's got such a tight entrance. It's going to be super hard to raid people because you're going to have to walk into it, and if the cryopod systems work the way they do on official, there is no way they can get into this base if you pillar outside correctly. And the last spot on this list is for my solo legend. You can find this spot at latitude 91.2, longitude 31.4. This spot is very close to World Edge, again giving that a little bit more security. Not a lot of people are going to be going around these parts, and below it there is a lot of resources. There's metal here, and there's also wood below you, so you can tame some creatures and you have some resources right next to you. The space is big enough to fit quite a decent sized base, especially for a solo player or a duo. It's very, very nice, and it's up high. But again, you have to worry about those PT rocket raids or those Quetzal raids. But apart from that, it's going to be a very nice spot and quite a simple one to protect in the long run. Those are my top 10 Rathole base locations for PvP that I have found so far on Ark Survival Ascended Center. If you choose any of these base spots, or this video just gave you some good information, make sure to like, subscribe, check out my other content, and I'll see you guys on the next one.